Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, The Budgeting Biologist. My name is Brittany. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping on this little old video. And if you're an oldie but a goodie, thank you so much as always for coming back. If you are looking for a really cheap, easy, and really delicious meal, you stopped on the right video. So this is very new for my channel. So if you are interested in this type of content, please consider giving this video a like, commenting, and of course subscribing to the channel. Your girl will appreciate it as we are branching out here on my YouTube channel. Now let's hop into this video. Okay y'all, so again, like I said, this is really new for me on my channel. I will be making one of my absolute favorite budget meals that I've been making pretty much almost every Sunday this fall and winter. I promise it's gonna be good. It's a definite crowd pleaser. We love it. So it's basically like this chicken rice soup or stew, depending on how much rice you put in it into your level of thickness that you like. But here's what you're gonna need. And I do wanna say all of these ingredients are from Aldi. So let's go ahead and start. So you're gonna need some minced garlic. You can also use fresh, but this is a really good meal for just using literally the scraps of what you have. So like I said, some minced garlic, some salt, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, the typical seasonings. This salt-free seasoning blend, I really like getting it salt-free because that way you can control how much salt is in your recipe. We also got some olive oil, 1 chicken bouillon cube, and I want to be clear about this, you only need 1, trust me. I got some white rice. Back here are my chicken thighs. These are bone-in chicken thighs. You can use the boneless ones if you want, or even drumsticks, but there's a very particular reason why I like to use the bone-in ones. I would just avoid using chicken breast in this recipe. Honestly, dark meat is gonna taste so much better. I got some leftover baby carrots, but of course you can use whatever carrots you have. I got 1 yellow onion, some leftover celery that is almost done. Again, this is why I like this recipe, because you can literally just take stuff that you have that's, and make some version of this. And then of course, some reduced sodium chicken broth. I usually use like homemade chicken broth if I have it on hand, but if I don't, that one just is just fine. So let's go ahead and hop into the actual recipe. Okay, so I am not a professional chef, just like I'm not a professional financial advisor. This is just how I make my food for myself and my boyfriend. So in my bowl here, I have my prepped bone-in chicken thighs that I have dried off and got all prepped. And we are going to be going ahead and getting the seasoning mix ready for the chicken thighs and the vegetables. That pack that I had came in a pack of 10. So in here we have 5 chicken thighs and the other 5 will be used for something else. So for our seasoning blend, we are going to be starting off with a tablespoon of that salt-free seasoning that I mentioned earlier. So full tablespoon of that. Then we are going to have a teaspoon of garlic powder. Remember, measure garlic and garlic powder with your heart, not the recipe. So I'm just using a teaspoon because that's what I've always done. A teaspoon of onion powder. We got a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I am using just like regular old table salt for this. But if you have kosher salt, go for it. Okay, and then I like to mix it up first. That way all the seasoning is really well evenly distributed for when I go ahead and put it on the chicken or the vegetables. All right, so I'm gonna take about half of this seasoning blend and pour that on to our chicken. And if I need more, I will make more. So that's about half, and now it's time to just get in there with your hands and make sure the chicken is really well coated. And I'm not squeamish about touching like raw meat, but I know some people are. So use some gloves, or you can even use like a spoon or something if you want. But I honestly think your hands are the best way to mix this up. All right, so I just washed my hands and I'm not happy with the way the chicken looks yet. So I think I'm gonna take a little bit more of that seasoning blend. The rest is just for the vegetables, and it's all gonna end up in the same pot anyway. But so anyways, yeah, so I put a little bit more of that seasoning blend, and I'm gonna keep mixing until I'm happy with the way it's seasoned, because we do not like unseasoned food on this channel. Okay guys, so I'm really happy with the way the chicken looks. I'm gonna set this aside, and then we're gonna get to work on the vegetables after I wash my hands. All right, so moving on to our vegetables, I got celery, and that's what I'm going to be starting with. And you can see my sad celery is kind of at the end of its lifetime here, but I have just enough to do this recipe. So I'm gonna be taking these 2 stalks, and then maybe even a little bit of this one, even though it's close to the heart. And then this leftover, don't get rid of it, keep it. I use these in my scrap bag to make chicken stock. So in this bag, I have leftover vegetable scraps, leftover chicken bones that I use to make chicken stock. So don't throw that out. Remember, we're on a budget and we are making the use of everything. So let me go ahead and give this celery a quick rinse before we chop it. Cool, so our celery is all rinsed. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this chopped up. Gonna kind of cut off these like kind of brown bits. And then I'm gonna chop this up into smaller pieces, and all the vegetables I'm going to pass through this like kind of automatic vegetable chopper thing. This is something my boyfriend has had since he was in college, and I absolutely love it, mainly because all of the vegetables that are chopped are going to be the same size, so that way they'll cook evenly. So I absolutely love it, and it takes a lot, saves a lot of time. All right, so our celery is all chopped up. Now we're gonna be moving on to our baby carrots. I already did rinse these off before I started the video, and I'm not being exact with my measurements here. I know that may be a little annoying, but like I said, just use what you feel like is appropriate in terms of the sizing for your family or whatever size meal you make. For what it's worth, I used like 3 or so celery stalks. So that is how much I used for the celery stalks, and let's see how many baby carrots I used. So that's 1, this is technically 1. And I just do want to mention that for the baby carrots, in order to get them through the grater, I do just quickly cut them in half, really similar to how I did the celery. So far, I've used 5 baby carrots. This is 6. Now we have 7. So what I'm actually looking for here is to make sure that I have about an equal amount of each one of the vegetables, the onion, the carrots, and the celery. And it looks like I have about an equal amount of celery and carrots. And I used about, I want to say like 19 to 20 baby carrots total. And then the rest, of course, we will use for something else. Actually, I think I'm going to take a couple of them and put them in my container for my chicken stock, because we're not going to eat all of these, but they can go towards my chicken stock. And then the rest, I don't know, I may give them to my dog or snack on them or something. All right, so the last thing we're going to be using is a yellow onion. And again, keeping the skins for my chicken stock that I make. I'm going to use about half of this. So this, I do have a decent measure on how much I'm going to be using, which is about half. And then of course, don't throw out the skin, keep it for chicken stock in the future. Okay, so this is what we have so far. We have our onions, our celery, and our carrots. And I'm just gonna give it a quick mix with my hands. that are clean, of course, and just get that all mixed in together. And we are gonna move on to the next step. So, lied. Before we move on to the next step, I'm actually just gonna take the rest of that seasoning blend and then just toss it over our vegetables. And again, with my clean hands, just give it a quick toss. But remember, everything's gonna wind up in the same pot anyway, so these are going to pick up a lot more flavor from the chicken and the seasoning on the chicken and all that good stuff. Okay, so now it's time to finally get cooking. In my pot here, it's just a large pot. I have a tablespoon of our olive oil and I'm just letting that heat up. And then over here to the pot on my right is my chicken broth, which I'm heating. So basically I poured this entire box of chicken broth in there and then I filled it up about halfway with water and poured that in there as well. And that's going to heat to about, to its simmering as well. And you want to sear your chicken thighs skin side down first. So I'm gonna let this cook for about 3 to 4 minutes until we develop a really nice color on our skin of our chicken thighs, and then we're gonna flip it over and cook it for another 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, so I turned off the heat and removed the chicken. Now we're just gonna go ahead and cook these vegetables in the same oil, of course. So these vegetables are gonna cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. And then we'll move on to the next step. And you do want to be careful with the vegetables just to make sure they don't burn. I do like to, stir them up every once in a while. The chicken, on the other hand, you can kind of just let it sit on each side while it's cooking. It's been about 2 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and add in a teaspoon of the minced garlic that we talked about earlier. I told y'all, measure garlic with your heart, and this is what my heart tells me to do. So I'm just gonna add that teaspoon in there and then cook that until it is nice and fragrant. Like, I'm not trying to brag right now, y'all, but it smells absolutely amazing in my kitchen. This just reminds me of when my mom used to cook when I was growing up. She used to make something similar, but it was more like a baked dish, and it smells almost identical to that. So I'm very happy right now. It smells amazing. So this has been cooking after the addition of the garlic for about another minute and a minute and a half. So now I'm gonna add in the chicken that we just cooked back to this pot. Okay, y'all, now on to the fun part. I am going to take off my chicken broth here that is almost to a boil and add that directly to our chicken and vegetable mix. And the reason why you want to heat it before is so everything cooks evenly. Like, you're not just suddenly putting cold chicken broth in. All right, so last thing we got to do is add our chicken bouillon cube. So this is why I use reduced sodium chicken broth. I use that salt-free seasoning. I don't put a lot of salt in the seasoning mix. And this is because there is also salt in this chicken bouillon cube. I have made it without it, but I promise this little nugget it just kind of blows it out the water when it comes to the flavor. So you only need one. I have made the mistake of using two. It was way too salty. Just one is all you need. So now all we're gonna do is let this entire mixture cook for about 30 to 40 minutes, or basically until you start to see your chicken to float. And one thing you also want to do during this process So I just grabbed the spoon here. So every once in a while it's cooking, you just want to come and just kind of skim some of the fat off. It'll kind of be that bubbly yellow stuff at the top. So I'm just gonna put a lid on this, and I'm gonna come back, stir it occasionally, and just basically let this cook for 30 to 40 minutes until the chicken is floating or done, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay guys, it has been about 28 minutes and my chicken is fully done. Whoops, I just splashed some of the broth, but that's okay. So now all I'm gonna do is take the chicken out and put it onto a plate. Forgot I had tongs to make this process way easier. So let all that good juice drip down back into the pot. Yes, our chicken is looking a little, bland, but I promise all of the seasoning is in that pot and it is going to taste amazing when it's done. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and let our chicken cool before we shred it up. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take about 3/4 of a cup of white rice. You can rinse your rice beforehand if you want. I don't do that because I am lazy, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to rinse rice before you cook it. But I am going to do 3/4 of a cup of rice in here. If you like it more soupy, I would just stop at 1/2 cup. But we like it more on like the stew side. So I do 3 1/4 cups of rice. So, all right, I am just gonna let the rice basically cook and simmer and all of that delicious flavor until it is done. Okay guys, so I went ahead and just took all the chicken off of the bones. The bones I did put into my chicken scrap bag. This is why I like the bone-in chicken thighs, because I can keep the bones and then use it for scraps and to make chicken broth. So I went ahead and just shredded up my chicken using my clean hands. I did use a knife as well, and this is what we have left over. So now all I'm gonna do is go ahead and put this into the pot with the rest of the dish. So now all of our chicken is in, our rice is in. So basically all we have to do now is just stir this, let it cook until our rice is done, and then we will be ready to eat. And this is also the step you want to taste it for. Do you have enough salt? Do you want more salt? Do you want more pepper? So make sure, and I've been doing that off camera, make sure throughout this process you are tasting the broth to make sure it is to your liking. Okay, so when you are all done, you should have something that looks like this. I mean, it just smells so amazing. There's that rice, all the really wonderful flavorful chicken that we got in there with the skin on, like I have. And the longer you let this sit on the heat, the thicker and thicker it's gonna become. So again, if you like it more soupy, take it off the heat a little bit earlier. If you like it more like a stew kind of consistency, like like we prefer, then leave it on the heat a little bit longer. Don't let it get overcooked. You don't want your rice to be super mushy or anything like that. So yeah, just basically continue to cook it until it's just at your liking, and then stop so you do not overcook that. All right guys, so this is our finished product. It smells absolutely amazing. It tastes amazing. I winded up adding a little bit more salt and pepper, but again, do it to your liking. I did add a little bit of dried parsley on the top, and I do have some lemon wedges off to the side because I do like to squeeze just a little bit of lemon in the stew/soup, just to brighten up the flavor a little bit. You don't have to, it's just what I prefer. And that is it. Now, out of all the videos that I have filmed on this channel, filming this video was quite frankly the most terrifying, because I know it is social media, and some people are gonna be mad that I didn't season my chicken enough. Other people are gonna say I seasoned it too much. Some people are gonna say you should clean your chicken, which I did. Some people are gonna say, no, don't clean your chicken. So this is definitely new territory for me. I know it's the internet, but please be kind in the comments. And if you do make this recipe, or you already make something similar to it, Let me know. I would love to hear, you know, your recipe, your take on these types of dishes. I love making this. It is one of my favorite meals because it is cheap, it is easy, and it is very filling. That entire pot will last us about, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 to 6 meals, depending on how much we stretch it. So I'm very excited to eat, and that's exactly what I'm about to do. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.